Hi, this is the PPEDad. In this video, it's going to be a little bit unscripted. As a matter of fact, there is no script. What I'm going to be talking about today is like keeping motivation and things you can do to basically keep yourself in a productive state. The PP journey is such that for a lot of people who have come to Thailand, and for me, I've been here for like 5 going 6 years already, and I've noticed in myself like how when I used to be in Singapore, I was very efficient and robust. But it was after about 3 years here, when I went back to Singapore for about 2 months, I realized how much ground that I had lost. When I met up with my old friends, I realized that they were thinking faster, they were doing more things per day, and they were generally ahead in their lives versus where I was at, which I was like, I had achieved the peak of my business prior to moving to Thailand. And there's a saying that says that when you stop to fight for improving your life, you basically will have the fear and all the other bad things take over. If you are not gaining position, you are losing position. And this is something that happens a lot. Especially in many of the Southeast Asian countries, which happens to be the best places in the world for the PPE business. Look at Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. These are some of the main manufacturing hubs for gloves, for instance, and of course it's China as well. But China is a very fast and robust place. But when we talk about like having lived in Thailand for 5 going 6 years, and I have also friends who are in Vietnam, and what we've noticed in these places is that the pace of life can be very slow. Of course, it's subjective as to what kind of a life you live or you choose to live. But then again, if we talk from a work perspective, in Thailand there's a kind of a traditional thinking that, if you get 1 thing done per day, it's pretty good. If you get 2 things done per day, that's like way better than most of like 90% of the people. And the reason for that, it comes back from way back when the traffic was extremely jammed. And if you just go for a meeting, you probably have to leave like 2 hours early, just so that you can be on time. And then after you've done the meeting, you're stuck in the peak hour rush, and by the time you get home, you're fatigued, you have dinner, and you just pass out for the next day. And that's basically it. Unfortunately, this has created a lot of habit in a lot of the people in Thailand. And even though the traffic conditions have severely improved, I would say greatly improved, but a lot of the mindset with regards to traffic and the pace at which life can be led, it remains the same. So procrastination is something that I see so much in countries like Thailand and Vietnam. They'll be like, I'll get it to you tomorrow. I'll get it to you next or within this week. And when within this week on a Friday, they always do that sickening weekend thing. And comment beneath this video or podcast if you realize that that's true for you as well. When they like to do that sickening thing and say, buy this week. And on Friday, they'll say, sorry, it's a public holiday, so it'll have to be next week. Or perhaps they'll say, unfortunately, this thing didn't come in. So there's a lot of culture here in Thailand, especially, where people think that reasoning such as this to delay and stall is acceptable. But in the Western culture, it's totally different because, imagine if you're a company that you come in, you want to order gloves, you want to order masks. And what you want is product. You don't want stories and excuses. Like you might be thinking, sure, there's a lockdown, but every other country has a lockdown as well. So why should that set your inspection date like, 2 weeks back? 2 weeks, into the future. So these are a lot of the aspects that need to be unified. And one of the things I found to be most powerful to keeping on track is to do daily improvement. First of all, I make a list on what I want to do every single day. That list will always have at least 7 items that I have to finish before I call it a day. And I try to finish as much as possible before lunch. And if I do not manage to finish everything by lunch, which obviously, things will be in a certain quantity and I have to do it in the afternoon as well, then I make sure that I finish it by dinner. Because after dinner, it's going to be, storytelling for the kids, time with family, board games, this and that. And because sometimes when I wake up very early in the day, I just don't feel like staying up late. And I personally found it no point to really burn the midnight oil, because the deeper you work into the day, at least for me, I work less efficiently than when I do so in the morning. So if there's something that I really cannot complete, between trying to stay up to finish it and work at half speed, I would rather take an early nap if I'm already feeling kind of tired and wake up 2 hours early the next day and finish it, and I will finish it. The next thing is that you need to educate your mind. Every day I make a point to put in new content into my brain. Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Robert Kiyosaki, Mark Joyner. Any of these famous speakers and motivators, just get some of that content. There's plenty of it on a thing called YouTube, which is free and freely available for almost everyone in every country. So you may be saying, I can't afford to buy motivational books because they're import product and they're very expensive. But it doesn't have to be the case anymore, because on YouTube, everything is there for free. And you can just easily browse. What I try to do nowadays is I want to give myself about as much as possible, I want to give myself 1 hour. 1 hour of self-development audio. There was a time when, before I went into a slump, okay, like I said, I in the beginning of this video, I did mention, okay, when you're not making new ground, you're falling behind. Or let's say the moment you start fighting for improvement, okay, fear and setbacks take over. So this is exactly what happened to me. I was at a high before I came over to Thailand. And when I came here, I just became comfort zone. I didn't really have a goal. And most importantly, I even forgot how to be successful. That's what I actually, analyzed after a long period of time. But the reason why I'm able to speak, in this kind of, gung-ho, or perhaps, why is it even without a script, I can go rapid fire. I can speak, from sentence to sentence without much of a break. Because, when you develop your mind, you're sharpening your sword all the time. And when you sharpen the sword, it's ready to cut. It's not that, when you take that knife out, you got to sharpen it and then you use it. No, it's not that way. The moment it's out, it's sharp. The moment you put it back in, it's sharp. The next day you take it out, it's sharp. Always sharp. So I do this by doing daily audios, and I want to encourage anyone listening to this video. If you're in a slump in your life, just try listening to audio for an hour a day, or let's say 30 minutes to an hour a day. And I guarantee you, in 60 days, you'll be a very different person than from today. As a matter of fact, you might even outgrow some of your relationships in 60 days from now. Why? It's kind of funny. Les Brown, he talks about his twin brother. And the twin brother used to be a higher achiever than he was. And on the other hand, Les Brown, he has been referred to as the dumb twin for most part. And unfortunately, this was some kind of a setback for him, but not for all his life, because at some point in time, he started to realize that even though they came from the same mom and the same dad, but why is it that even though on the surface they look so similar, that at heart they could be so different? One, a salaryman. Another, an entrepreneur that's constantly looking out how to make more and grow more and affect more people. Sound familiar? Now I want to talk a little bit about in a situation, personal situation. At a point of time, I sent my kids to a school that was about 25 kilometers away from home. It was probably the second school that they went to after moving to Thailand. And in this second school that was 25 kilometers away, although I was fat and overweight at the time, but interestingly, although I did not have much time for myself, my business was actually still doing pretty good. And the reason for that is simple. Every day, when I'm sending my kids to school, or when I'm coming back from sending them to school, or when I'm on the way to pick them up, I'm listening to motivational audio. So even though I was so tired by doing the school run twice a day every day, and it made me lose interest in exercise, and at that point of time I became one of the fattest I've ever been. Basically at that time I was like 83 kilo, and right now I'm 69. I'm lean, fit, 69. Six pack just came up in the last 2 weeks. But during that time, I had a very good mind. I used to run a couple of successful Facebook pages and YouTube channels as well. And the fact that on this channel that you see right here, I want to give myself a challenge to start anew and see if I can hit new audiences and build up a good followership and affect people all the same way as I have without relying on any of my previous channels. But in running those previous pages and channels that I used to have, or I still have, but kind of dormant by the way, what I did was that I constantly had all these ideas in my head because of the things I listened to going to school, coming back from school, and those school drop-off pickup runs every day, twice a day. I had loads of ideas. There was never a moment that I could not pick up my phone, take a video, and basically have nothing to say. I always had something to say. And on top of that, I had something to say that would influence and change people that listen to it. So today, I don't wish to make it like a very long sermon, but as a matter of fact, I want to leave you a couple of good links on things that you can look into. There was one particular motivational speech from Les Brown. It's about 90 minutes. To be honest with you, I did not do 90 minutes of his speech, in one sitting. I did it in two. Okay, so let's say you could be having your daily unwind time. You could be having a meal. You could be perhaps like doing some gaming on your phone, and that's perfectly fine because I do that too. Is de-stress. But if you de-stress without inputting other things into your brain when it can be used for that, you lose the opportunity. You lost the opportunity to train your brain. You lost an hour of time that could have been good for you. It's just the same as, if you're simply just sitting by a TV and just watching it without doing some stretching, some exercise on the way, it's wasted time, it's wasted opportunity. It could be done for something else. So I want to encourage you, like for me, I play a couple of online games, and one of them is Bleach Brave Souls, and I find it's a lot of fun. My kids have good fun with it as well. Because I like this game because they update the content very regularly. The sound effects are always new. They change the background music, and they have new characters all the time. So it's a really good game. But at the same time, sometimes when you're trying to play these games to farm for more token, or to farm for more in-game credits, or let's say in this game it's called Spirit Ops, so you can use to upgrade your characters. Sometimes you have to do very repetitive stuff. And this repetitive stuff, it's really a waste of time if you're not doing something else at the same time. So that is when, if I'm going to be taking, let's say, 45 minutes to wind off, or 1 hour to wind off, I'll be listening to audio at the same time. And you know what? Among those 7 goals that I do on a daily, at least 7 goals I do on a daily basis, I also write 7 things I want to improve every single week. And for example, like last week, one of the things I wrote down for myself that I wanted to improve is to reduce my online gaming time. It's interesting because when you're looking to do something, as long as there is an intention, the universe works in very strange ways and will somehow connect you to what you want to do and find you the answers that you're seeking. Ever had a scenario when maybe you're looking to change your car? Like right now, I'm looking to change to a BMW X5, either the M50D or the 45e. Why? Because my family needs more space for the long road trips, and the roads here in Thailand are not that great. So if you're doing a lot of interstate travel, I want a better vehicle that's safe and spacious. And all of a sudden, when I go on the street, I see X5, 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 X5. I see everywhere. And not long before that, when I had a previous car, I looked down the street and I saw, there you go. That's a TTS right there. That's a TTS. That's an Audi TTS right there. It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you have a goal in mind, if there are things that you want to do, and let me give you the most interesting thing. I practiced something, part of the Simpleology program by Mark Joyner. It was like a daily task planner with ingots of daily training. And what I really love about this is that even if I do not find additional content to watch on a daily basis, this is more than enough. And there's often like supplementary videos as well. So after I do my planning, I just play the daily lessons, which are typically about 2 minutes or less. And then there'll also be some supplementary video, which was exactly how I found out about in my previous podcast when I talked about Marianne Williamson and about the divine compensation. All right, and also when I recently talked about this Les Brown and his 1.5 hour motivation speech, I found it out through Simpleology. So great place to do it. But the point I really wanted to make is that, okay, like I set a time for, I decided to reduce my screen time in playing games. And the interesting thing is this, even at mealtime, I have been taking shorter meal times these days. When I'm taking a rest, it's interesting how quickly I want to get back to work. Because there's already a subconscious thought that I want to reduce my screen time and increase my productivity. It works. Now, in this Simpleology course, I forgot this for a couple of seconds earlier, but it was about the activity called the 1 Magical Minute. The 1 Magical Minute is a powerful way that I use to hypnotize myself to do the things that I want to do and get to the success I want to achieve. At the same time, to dehypnotize myself from all the crap messages from society and the people around. Like I said, if you start today, make a decision. Start listening to motivational audio, 30 minutes to an hour a day. Every day, get at least 7 tasks out. Every week, improve on at least 7 things. Okay? I guarantee you, in 2 months' time, you'll be a totally different person. And on top of that, you'll be outgrowing so many people around you. I thought I would find it like lonely. But interestingly enough, the more I climbed, because of my mental level, I found more people and better people that I could hang out with that was in tune with me. And on that magical minute, okay, I had a little breakdown of a couple of steps I need to go through in order to reach my immediate goal. Or it's like a medium-term goal in this case. And one of them is to seal a repackaging contract. It's interesting how it works. Because just today, someone messaged me, one of my existing broker partners. He said, "Hey, PPEDad, we have a potential thing we can do. Is that repackaging place that you mentioned before that used to offer X amount of price per box repacking fee still accepting jobs? And how much can they pack? We might have something here." I didn't especially go out to find it, but it came. And just 2 weeks ago, I shared, it's interesting how customers have dropped off for a period of time. They suddenly came back chasing me for the contract. I want to go to the factory. I want to meet the bosses. I want to fill in, I want to get the contract. I want to review the contract terms because we want to sign ASAP. Now, coming back to this thing about Thai people and the working habits, I also want to mention that for one of these recent factories I visited that makes their own mask in-house, K95 masks, and also the 4-ply, 5-ply, they have all of those. And what's interesting is that on weekdays, they're extremely efficient. One thing I tell you about Thai people is that generally, like I said, most people have this one day, one thing mentality. But for those that are really go-getters, which are hard to find, but they are, okay? And one thing about them is just like this. You cannot go to them on a rest day and expect something to be done. It's absolutely impossible, okay? But, if let's say, it's a work day, bang, in 1 hour, you have your reply. So these kind of suppliers actually exist. And if you're interested in getting in touch with such suppliers in Thailand, speak to me. I have such suppliers that are super efficient. Like this is a Thai company that I mentioned that does masks, but at the same time, there's another company that does glove that I work with, and the people running the business, the business manager, the sales and marketing head, the chief operating officer, all foreign, all robust, all fast, all professional. Everything is done ahead of schedule. Everything is under promise, over deliver. When they say, hey, we can get this proof of life video for you of the factory by Monday or Tuesday, and they say this on a Friday. Lo and behold, it's done on Saturday. Always exceeding expectations. And they even shared me one thing. They mentioned that in the past, even when they were in a stage when they were not manufacturing own glove, but they were subcontracting for other party. And the subcontracted party, the way most Thai businesses operate, it's always like excuses and reasons for late delivery, for instance. And when it was missing their deadline, well, someone has to pay. Well, it's nice that you explain, but unfortunately the end buyer is not going to accept that. So what they did was that they actually went out into the market and spent about twice the cost. They paid premium for the product as well as for air freight to get it in. And they said, you know what, PPEDad, our product will never be late. It's our responsibility that you get your goods on time. Even if we have to pay more, we will, to get you your product, because our reputation is important. And this is so hard to find in this industry. But these are the no-nonsense people that I love to work with. But anyway, there's a couple of different things. And I apologize for, jumping from thing to thing and, backtracking, forward tracking in the span of this video, because like I said, it's not scripted. But today what I really want to speak to you, and I hope you also have some time after this, go and check out that video by Les Brown. It did so much for me. At the same time, I also want to give you a link for a Tony Robbins video. Fantastic stuff. When I listened to that, I had an idea of how I was going to craft my next bunch of sales messages in a different way, hit a different crowd. Everyone, start today. Train your mind. Train your mind to be successful. Success is a habit. And winning can be learned. If you're constantly having the habits of success, you will always be the one to win. This is the PPEDad, and if you like my content, please hit that like and subscribe button down beneath this video. At the same time, if you wish to look at a blog post version of this video or this podcast, you're welcome to click on this link as well. And if you have any demands for PP supplies in and around Thailand, such as I also work with Malaysian suppliers, I work with Chinese suppliers as well, write me and I'll get back to you about your orders. I just want to make a quick announcement about all these unicorn deals, okay, like for cranberry, for cardinal. Well, to be honest with you, I've never yet closed one. And I cannot guarantee if these deals will be fruitful at all if you were to explore it. But if you have a buyer and you know that the buyer is genuine and they have the openness to explore such a deal, yes, we can all look at it. But if you're okay to accept like a OEM kind of a glove that I can take you manufacturer direct, I think that would be so much better. Why? Because you can be sure that you can receive goods, and at the same time you can have the goods in any specification that you like. You can choose the color, the thickness, the specification. You can let them know what kind of test standards it needs to meet. And the interesting thing is this: when you work with an OEM glove manufacturer that's been producing for years, they naturally on hand have a whole different arsenal of different recipes of making gloves, different specifications, a catalog a specific catalog, so to speak. All right, that can be anywhere between 50 and 150 different configurations, and it's simply awesome. So, did you even know that, let's say, if your target price for the client, if your client's target price is a little bit on the, let's say, high side, or let's say is on the low side, okay? how can we adjust this glove to fit into that price bracket? Can we do something about the percentages of the ingredients? Can we adjust about the thickness? Perhaps, let's say, what if we did the fingertip 4 mil just as what the client wants, but because he cannot afford the price, we can actually go thinner on the palm, as long as he agrees that the palm does not need to be that thick. At the end of the day, it's all based on approved sample. The contract can be signed according to the samples that have been produced and agreed upon. So once again, I look forward to you reaching out to me, and thank you for spending this time with me on this podcast or video, whichever you're looking at this at. And I wish you well in your business, and do feel free to reach out to me to boost your business, and let's connect.